A very good evening to you and welcome to the NEC at Birmingham for the second of our two live looks at what's going on here at this year's International Motor Show. On this evening's show we will be going very closely in on the new Volkswagen Golf 4-wheel drive. We also have a look at cheap motoring, value for money cars, coming to that in just a second, and we'll be finding out what it's like to work at the motor show for the 2 weeks of meeting the public with people like we have here. Well, two people and a robot. Good evening.
Exactly. I tell you what, Mr. Smith, we could find a good courier for you here at the motor show if you wish.
Could you?
Yes.
You probably could, because he's a Korean motor manufacturer. This is the Hyundai stand. You can see they've done it up with all these gimmicks on it. This is looking like a moon buggy, but they don't really need all of this because the real star on this stand doesn't need all this stuff. It's just over here. This is the Hyundai Stella. Now, this is cheap motoring. It may look a bit familiar to you because it started out life as the Ford Cortina. And when Ford got rid of the Cortina, Hyundai bought up all the tooling for the Cortina and produced this body shell. So it does look very like the Cortina. It sells in this country for £5,300 for a 5-seater family saloon car. It's also very popular all over the world.
Right, now here's a little guessing game. You can't see the name of the manufacturer of this car, so who do you think produced it? Well, I'll tell you. It's Volvo, and for me, it was one of the surprises of the show. I always think, well, Volvo are renowned for their safety. They tell us they're going to wrap the family in cotton wool. What they're not really renowned for, in my view at least, is making attractive cars. They always seem really rather heavy and solid on the road. This one, though, the new 480 ES, I think is really rather a pretty little car. It's the first sports car that Volvo brought out since the 1800, which they made in the 1960s. It's got a 1700cc engine at the moment, which is made by Renault. Now, that's not really going to give the kind of performance that you'd expect from something called a sports car, so they're now producing their own turbo engine, which they'll put into the car later. It's also got front-wheel drive. It's the first time Volvo have brought a front-wheel drive car out. Besides being a sports car, or a sporty car, it's a practical car. The hatchback means you've got plenty of room for putting things in the back. The seats in the back are split, so practical and comfortable again. And it's got a lot of little Volvo features which you would expect. There's a light in the keyhole which comes on at night, so if you're struggling to get in the car, you can find the keyhole easily. There's an automatic burglar alarm. Got to be good news. And then if we look inside, they've thought very carefully about driver comfort. The seat is very comfortable, back is well supported. All the controls are on pods around the steering wheel, so they're easy to get at and easy to operate. Now, the windscreen wipers are quite good. As you accelerate, they automatically go faster. There's also a computer in the dashboard, which will give you an extremely stern warning if you're using too much fuel. Now, the car is expected to come out early next year in this country, and it's going to cost about £10,000. And it also carries what all Volvos carry, and it's called their lifetime care commitment. Now, they're very careful not to call it a warranty or a guarantee. They don't want to get involved in too much legal commitment. What they do say is that any part that goes because of a fault in manufacture, they will replace free of charge throughout the car's lifetime, regardless of change of ownership. But providing that your car is serviced at the intervals recommended in the handbook by authorized Volvo dealers, that all necessary repairs are carried out in good time by Volvo dealers, and that only genuine Volvo parts are used in any repair or renovation. So it sounds like a good guarantee of work for Volvo dealers at least, but it's very caring and very Volvo.
I'm a very big fan of 4-wheel drive cars, not just in performance terms, but in safety terms. I really think it's the ultimate in road safety to have all 4 wheels driven. Great road holding. Now, it's previously only been available at the top end of the market by Audi and Ford and so on. Now Volkswagen are bringing it into the lower end of the market, to the hottest selling hatchback in Europe at the moment, the Golf. The 1.8 CL is available now in Germany with this Synchro 4-wheel drive. It comes to Britain in right-hand drive form next spring. It will add about £1,500 to the price of your Golf, and the only external difference will be the badging. Down here at the front, it's got the little Synchro badge on it, which shows that it's 4-wheel drive. Also, it's got extra wheel arches on the side there, and it's got a very deep spoiler at the front end, which unfortunately doesn't leave much clearance if you're thinking of turning it into a Land Rover, but that's not the idea. The 4-wheel drive is to give you excellent road holding in normal road-going conditions. good idea from Volkswagen.
Well, scenes like those, I'm happy to report, have been something of a rarity at this year's show. Now, it used to be the case that motor shows were littered with leggy lovelies in various states of undress, but this year the organisers said no, and most of the manufacturers played by the rules. Now, the organisers accept that women will always be used to sell cars. Indeed, most of them will be models. But they said that this year they should be dressed suitably, that they should have some intelligence and a fair amount of product knowledge. And Vauxhall Opel have been taking this form of marketing rather more seriously than most. The promotional jobs are in great demand. 30 women were selected from 300 applicants. The chosen few then went off for 3 days intensive training to see how the cars are made. The women must conform to a type equally attractive, it's claimed, to men and women. The approach to be knowledgeable, gentle persuasion. They get first-hand experience of driving each of the cars in the range, so they can describe the handling with some authority. They also see the passenger's point of view.
The dashboard also very nice and compact, actually. We don't firstly in this one. No.
And then the company gives its point of view.
As a company, our philosophy is that we want visitors to the Vauxhall Opel stand to feel that they can discuss their motoring requirements with friendly...
In the latter stages of the crash course, there's a detailed exam about each product in the range. Then the suitable clothing is handed out.
What the uniform consists of. We will be wanting these back after the 2 weeks. Okay.
And so the access to the public is through the 3 carpeted areas in dark blue.
For attending the course and for the full tour of duty at the show, they'll each get £600. Not exactly a fortune for 12 days on your feet on the company stand. Well, Fiona Campbell, we saw you on the course. Here you are at work. It's a lot of hard work, long days, especially on those stiletto heels, for not an awful lot of money. Why do you do it?
Well, really, that's the going rate for the models throughout the show, so that is the work.
Do you think it's enough?
No one's complained so far.
Now, what about the course? Was it useful? Has it really given you a product knowledge?
Yes, it has. It's helped the girls a lot. Quite a lot of people come on the stand and they don't like asking girls because they think we don't know anything. They think we're just attraction, you know, for the cars.
Right, I am a customer. This is a Cavalier. I at least know that much. Would you like to sell it to me?
Certainly. This is the new 2-litre fuel injection SRI. It's shown here at the NEC for the first time and it will be on show to the public from spring. It will be on sale to the public from spring. It has the optimised torque engine and it has Bosch Motronic fuel injection system as well. It has a close ratio 5-speed gearbox and altogether that sums up a very sporty, high-performance car.
What about comfort?
Very comfortable interior, very soft upholstery. It has several optionals, you know, that you can buy with the car, such as lumbar adjusters for if you're travelling long distances. Very comfortable, very clear dashboard.
Do you really know what all that means?
Yes, I do.
Well, you know more about cars than I do. Fiona, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Now, the Cavalier, I have to say, is not considered to be the star of Vauxhall Opel's show. Their star car is slightly higher in the range. For the executive company car driver, one of the most important new cars to be launched at the show is the Vauxhall Carlton. Vauxhall have given the car the same aerodynamic styling as the smaller Astra and Belmont, with the added refinement of flush-fitting glass all round. The engines are all new and range from a 1.8-litre carburettor through to a 2-litre with fuel injection. There'll be a sporty 3-litre version in the new year. The car has Vauxhall's advanced chassis technology suspension system. They say it makes it more stable on corners in unexpected situations. It works well and also gives a much improved ride compared with the car it replaces. Less impressive is the rather woolly steering and the sluggish performance from the versions with 1.8-litre engines. There's an estate car, and at prices from £9,250, it's tough competition for the Ford Granada.
In terms of production, people like Vauxhall are trying to knock out some 1,500 cars a week of particular models. So it is a delight to come to the Morgan stand here at the NEC and discover that when they produce 410 cars a year, they're really hard-pressed. If you order a Morgan today, you won't get it for 3 or 4 years. What will you get after your long wait? You'll get surely the classic sports car shape. You will get this particular car, this one with a few extras on it at the moment. The basic price is just over £8,000. Wire wheels, beautiful wing shape here, the running boards, immaculate paint finish, and a car that you can actually put your arms around and cuddle it. It's such a sweet car. This one is a bit more expensive, the wide-bodied 4.4, £11,941 in its basic form. New things for Morgan enthusiasts to look out for are a new paint finish. This is going to be put on before the wings are put together, so it gives it a longer life. And most important of all, the ash frame that supports the bodywork is now treated by Cuprinol, which means that your Morgan should not need a rebuild for at least 15 to 20 years after you buy it.
Well, there are no woodworm problems with the Caterham Super 7. It's an entirely metal frame and body. And Caterham, can you believe, only produce 250 cars a year. It's exactly the same basic design that was put together by Colin Chapman in 1957, although this particular sports car has a lot more performance than they did in 1957. I actually feel a bit of a fraud sitting in this car at all, because before the company will sell you one, they insist that you go on a high-performance driving course and test. The reason for that is this is the classic car that goes from 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds, and it only costs £13,000. Similar performance in a Porsche would cost you £30,000 to £40,000, and you'd actually leave most Ferraris standing. It's a great British sports car for sunny summer afternoons going down country lanes. The only problem arises when you need to get out. Oh.
The name Marcos these days means one of two things. It's either a defunct, bejewelled president, or it's a classic British sports car. And as we're not into presidents on this programme, let's stay with the sports car. The Marcos, made in Wiltshire. They make a total of 60 cars a year, and they make them beautifully. Steel chassis, fiberglass body, and an engine in there is the Rover V8 Vitesse engine to give this car a top speed of over 150 miles an hour. This is the Mantula Spider, which is new for this year's motor show. They've taken the hardtop off the Mantula and put a very nice conversion job in here. The hood sinks down, looks good with the hood up, which is something that can't be said for a lot of sports cars these days, as well as with the hood down. I love the shape of the Marcos, this beautiful shape. It's 25 years old, and it's something they can really never get rid of. And remember, it was Marcos that gave Jackie Stewart his start in racing. He started racing a Marcos many years ago, and even Derek Bell has raced a Marcos as well in his time. This is the component form you can get the cars in. The Mantula hardtop would be £16,000 complete. If you get this kit, which is about £7,000, put your own engine into it, you can build yourself a car for around about £10,000. You save on the car tax and the VAT.
Well, one of the exhibition halls is absolutely jam-packed with motoring accessories, and in fact all the other halls that have cars and vans in them have got thousands of accessories in them too. I've chosen just a few. The first one is a British company, Motorola. They've produced a new car telephone. Now, I always worry about people sitting in their cars with the phone and a hand on the wheel, but this one has the recommended hands-free facility, so you can just talk into the sun visor. You look a bit daft in a traffic jam, but never mind. It's also a telephone that you can pick up and take with you if you want to. Bit heavy, but copable with, and it costs around £1,200. Now, this is jolly useful if you've got a car that's difficult to start in the morning, like mine is. It gets very cold and damp. It's called a hot start. You plug it in 15 minutes before you're due to leave. It warms up the engine. You should get a start first time, and also as you turn the heater on, the warm air should come out rather than cold air. This is made by a Swiss company, and it's to be used in place of snow chains, but very much easier to fit. You just take that off, pull that off, and I assure you it goes on just as easily as it comes off. Now, there are lots of things around the show which would make good presents if you've got somebody in the family who's a motoring enthusiast. This is a safety kit. It's got goggles and a mask and good strong gloves for doing all those jobs which might cut your hand. And you may be wondering why I'm standing here with what looks like a miner's lamp on my head. Well, this is a jolly useful little gadget. It means that you can do anything in the dark with your hands free.
The thing to have at the motor show this year is the video wall. Everywhere you go around here, you're blitzed by television screens and videotapes. It's almost hard to find a real car. That's the Mercedes-Benz stand. This is the no man's land. And over here is Austin Rover Group joining in the battle. This is the very important 200 series. Important because a lot of British customers of Austin Rover Group love this car. It's been facelifted for the motor show. It's really a Rover badged Honda Ballade, but don't tell an Austin Rover Group salesman I told you that. And here we have the Group C class winner in this year's World Endurance Sports Car Championship. A world champion for Austin Rover because the engine in the back of that is an Austin Rover engine. And down here, look at this, the ever popular Mini Metro. The millionth Mini Metro comes off the production line this week. Further into the stand, I quite expected to see bloodstains on the carpet because of what's been going on at Austin Rover Group recently, but it all looks very prim and proper. The Mini Metro's lined up here, and just around the corner we have the car that really is the Coronation Street of the motor trade. 27 years the Mini has been going. They're still making them. They are still selling them because you still love them. £5,200 for the Mayfair Automatic. And a lot of talk going on here about the Maestros and Montegos. What's going to replace them? There's also a lot of talk about a car that Jenny's with now.
And here's the great white hope for Austin Rover. It's the 800 series. This car is the Sterling, so it's the top of the range. Now, it's the first car that's come right through the design stage in partnership with Honda. And when this car was launched a couple of months ago, it was much admired. It's a very smart car. It's got lots of electronic wizardry, but it was criticised because it's a very expensive car. It costs £19,000. So what Austin Rover have done for the motor show is to launch a new car. It's also in the 800 series. It's the 820e. It's pretty well the same car. It looks the same on the outside. It's got the same interior, but it costs just under £11,000. The reason it's so cheap, the saving that they've made, is on the engine. The Sterling has the Honda engine, and this car has a British engine, and they've simplified the fuel injection system. So they've lost some performance, but they've gained on economy. Now, the car is being marketed by the group's new management team under Graham Day. The irony of the whole thing is that the car's main competition is going to come from the partner, the sister company, Honda. The Legend is Honda's new flagship, the top-of-the-range model, and it marks the entry for the Japanese company into a new sector of the market. Up to now, Honda have made a range of saloons and coupes in the smaller end of the market. This is the first time they've made and faced the challenge of selling a big executive class of car. It's a joint venture, of course, between Honda and Rover. The companies developed a common body shell, and Honda built the engine for both the Legend and the Sterling. The Legend is built on the Rover production line at Cowley, then taken off to Honda's vast new centre in Swindon for quality control checking before being released for sale. Legend and Sterling are sold in competition with each other in the UK, in Europe and in America. And here in the UK, the news at the show is the aggressive pricing policy Honda have adopted. They'll sell the Legend with all the extras for almost £2,000 less than a Sterling. Of course, at the heart of the new cars is the V6 2.5-litre engine. It's drawn heavily on the racing experience the company gained in developing their winning Formula One engine.
In this corner of the NEC, another success story for the British motor industry. Lotus Cars. Now, we know all about their success on the racetracks, those legendary successes of years gone by. We know all about their snazzy sports cars that they've been producing. But did you know that they are now doing research work on behalf of other major motor manufacturers around the world? For instance, this sort of research work. Now, this car is one of Lotus's own ones. This is made of a composite material. The body shell on this has a lifetime guarantee against corrosion, mainly because there's no metal in it. What it's got in it is this, foam. There's the foam in the middle, and there's the composite material around the outside. It's like a glass fibre, carbon fibre construction around there, which gives it immense strength. It also means that you can manufacture it easily and more cheaply than, say, metal. Here's something that Lotus have been working on with their engineering department for Chevrolet. This is going to be the front end of a new Chevrolet. Beautifully smooth, looks like it could actually be pressed steel, but if I whip it round, you'll see that it's all made in one piece, all done in one mould, and it's moulded like a bit of plastic, only it's not plastic, it's this composite material. Down here is the foam rubber filling. Around that is the sandwich, the outer part of the sandwich, the composite material, and the only metal in it are the steel inserts at the top, which will be used to take mounting bolts and so on. They're put in manufacture. Again, the strength is immense, and I shall demonstrate that now. I have a piece of the material here, which would be a cover, it could be a bonnet of the car or whatever, and probably we could say that the vandal-proof car is with us, because take a look at this. Still in one piece, and no dent. And these consultancies are springing up all over the place. For instance, which car is it that is made in Spain, designed by an Italian, and has the engineering excellence of perhaps the most famous German manufacturer ever? An international consultancy putting it together. The car is the Seat, and here we are on the Seat stand. Actually, I remember Seats from cheap Spanish holidays a few years ago, and you'd go and you'd get a thing that looked like a Fiat 500, and you'd run it into the ground and then go and hire another one. These days, Fiat have nothing to do with the Seat organization, but Seat have a lot to do with other manufacturers. The body of the Seat Ibiza here is designed by Giugiaro, the Italian, who's done an awful lot of top-class design work, and I'm sure you'll agree the lines of this are particularly beautiful. The Ibiza was launched about a year ago at the Motor Fair. You may remember the hoo-ha about the engine being a system Porsche engine. Well, there's the proof. It says Porsche on the top of the engine. And what a pedigree that is to have under your right foot. You've also got some Volkswagen influence in there, and Karmann have engineered the body, and Karmann are the people who did all the early Porsche work. So it really is a car that has got a pedigree you can be proud of, but not a price tag that you should shy away from. I think where they've really scored with the Ibiza, and the three-door version, which was launched a year ago, there are now 5,000 of them on the roads of Britain. They are the fastest growing car importers at the moment. Where they've really scored is the fact that the price is so good. That one is £5,659. You can still get them up to this price here. This gold one is £6,126 for the 1.5 GLX 5-door with an almost 1500cc engine. But that is truly value for money. You show me anywhere else in this exhibition where you can get a car that's this size, Ford Escort sized, very nice and roomy, family sized, beautifully trimmed, velour trim, nice dash layout, everything you could want, but at this price. Very, very competitive, and I'm sure there'll be a darn sight more than 5,000 on the roads come this time next year.
Well, back now to a car almost entirely made in Britain. 2 years ago at this very show, Reliant launched their new SS1 range. It was intended to replace the big Scimitar. There was a 1300 and a 1600 sporty version. Unfortunately for Reliant, the car hasn't done quite as well as they hoped. What they'd worked out was that people would probably like to have a sporty car that was affordable and that was in a fairly low insurance bracket. It seems they were wrong. What people really want is performance. So for this motor show, they've brought out an 1800 version. Now, in this case, the engine, I'm afraid, is not British. What they've put in there is the turbocharged Nissan engine. It's a very clean engine, though, so what it should mean is that the car will be admitted into the American markets, and British sports cars are usually very popular there, so the company have great hopes. The trim on the 1800 is somewhat higher than on the 1300 and 1600 versions, and it has an interesting material on the seats. It's called Alcantara. It's a man-made fibre which looks and feels exactly like suede, but of course it's not. Just goes to show that nothing these days is quite what it seems.
How can we possibly talk about sports cars without coming and visiting the Porsche stand here at the NEC? The star, as far as Porsche is concerned, is one car. The star, as far as I'm concerned, is all of them, because they're all magnificent. But if you take a look at the 928 S4, that is the new generation of the 928, you're looking there at £46,500 worth of motor car. It will quite easily get you to well over 150 miles an hour in next to no time at all, and burn a large hole in the pocket that's got the petrol money in it as well. But it is a beautiful car, as is this, the 944 Turbo. Of course, Porsche are renowned for their excellent engineering and their race-bred development. And the past couple of years, this is the man who's been doing a lot of the race-bred development and the winning. Double world champion now, Derek Bell.
Thank you very much, Mike.
You're world champion again this year, just the other week?
Just, yes. Only just by a point.
Now, being world champion in sports cars, you don't seem to get as much publicity as, say, Mr. Mansell is for leading the Formula One World Championship at the moment, do you?
No, I don't. Formula One has just been so well promoted over the years, and it is the top formula. which is very sad for us, you know, when we're trying to sort of make a mark for ourselves commercially, and you can't do it. But you know, that's the way we have to accept it. Whereas in the States, they look at every class of racing on its own merits, and none of them are picked out as being superior to another. But over here, sadly, you know, we won the World Championship twice, and with Porsche, I've won Le Mans 3 times. And we haven't really had that much publicity out of it, which is a pity.
I don't know how many millions Porsche invest in their endurance racing every year, but it must cost an absolute fortune. Does it pay off in terms of development for the road car?
Yes, I think it does. If you actually spoke to the engineers, they'd say there is very little spin-off from racing. But in fact, there are certain things. For example, this 944 Turbo we have here does have an under tray to it. 2/3 of the under tray is actually flat. There is a certain amount of ground effect in this car. Also on it, we have ABS brakes, which we have on our racing cars now. Also on this particular car, electronic injection system, electronic management systems have come along a long way. We've been developing that in our race 962s for the last 5 years, and it has done a tremendous amount for fuel economy. And I think every car in the world, BMW, Jaguar, Mercedes, whatever it is, everybody has developed and gained a lot from racing and the Motronic injection systems that we've had to fight with for the last 5 years to get economy.
Derek, many congratulations. I hear that there's a chance of Porsche pulling out of the World Championship next year. What's that going to do to you?
Well, I mean, they definitely are pulling out, I suppose, unless maybe they find a big sponsor for next year's program. For me, it means that I'll do maybe 2 or 3 selected races, Silverstone, Le Mans, maybe Brands Hatch for a team. But really, after Porsche, it's a very hard act to follow. I do a lot of races in the United States. I'm off back there next week for one more race in their championship, and I'd like to contest that race series next year, which consists of 16 races. So maybe I'll do that. I finished second in the series the last 2 years over there, so I'd like to try and win it next year if I can't feature in the World Championship.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Well, Renault, I'm afraid, must be one of the unhappiest companies at the motor show. They're losing money hand over fist in their native France, and this new 21 range simply has to succeed if the state-owned company is going to survive at all. They hope it'll be particularly successful in the middle company car bracket, but they've also brought out this estate car, which they really hope is going to be a winner. Now, if you had lots of children to carry around in the past, you had to buy either the really big Citroën or the big Peugeot to pack them all in the back. This is a medium-sized car which has 5 seats as standard and an option to put 2 extra seats in the back, so you can carry yourself and a friend and 5 children safely, all facing forwards. And the car will cost you something between £7,500 and £9,500.
Which is not bad money for a car of this size. Amazing, the birth rate's going down, but the seating capacity of the car seems to be going up all the
It's
time.
the school run. It's packing them all in the back. One woman picking a load of children up from school.
My local minicab firm are going to love that one as well. That's about it from us for this show. I hope you've enjoyed the last 2 shows from here. If you've missed anything at all, you have 2 options. One is to join the throngs of people, some 750,000 expected here from Saturday onwards as the motor show opens to the public. You can come live, or you can join us again on BBC One on Sunday afternoon. Bye-bye.
See you then. Bye.